Now I do. Now I've got it going, Steve.
There we go.
Nice shirt,
Okay.
by the way. We dress well. Look at you. You look great. I look great, right? I look outstanding, don't I?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Now I have no idea how shy I'll be, camera shy. So, like I said, I'm an ugly guy. So let me just zoom in here, show you how ugly I am from side to side. I have a face for radio. So, welcome to the show again. Let's talk a little bit about music, and then we're going to actually do something unique here. We're going to have you play for our audience, and I'm going to put it on YouTube and iTunes. So it should be kind of cool because I've done radio for a while. Like I said, this is my first shot at video. So let's see how it goes. So, by the way, you are a country musician, correct?
Yes, sir. I do. I fit the country music genre best. I've done rock and roll and I've done jazz and all that kind of stuff, but I'm comfortable with country.
Okay, now that's cool because I've done a lot of genres. You can see I wear all these stupid, crazy rings, so which makes it hard to play the guitar. By the way, you got to take them off when you play.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
yeah.
you damage the neck, right? And by the way, sometimes when my wife's not here, it hurts for a hand job as well. So, for my audience, now you know what kind of show I do, right? By the way,
All right.
so I'm curious about this. So now you've covered a lot of genres: rock, jazz, country. I've had on my show rock bands, country, jazz. I play guitar as well. I do jazz and blues. So I'm curious, why doing country music now? Is it a genre that you think is the most appreciated? Because I'm kind of finding that out as well. Is that one of the reasons, or is it your love is country over the others, and you moved in that direction because of the love of that genre of music?
My love is country.
Okay.
And I grew up country.
Uh-huh.
And that's where I started really. And I started. Excuse me. I got my dog barking downstairs there.
Uh-huh. It's okay.
When I was a kid, I started. In fact, I started on this old guitar right here. It's a 1941 Martin my dad bought in World War II, and I picked it up about 11 years old and started playing it, and just went from there. But when I got in my teens, I started playing some rock and roll and things like that. So.
Okay. And by the way, that guitar is in better shape than Willie Nelson's guitar. Yeah. How do you keep it in that great a shape? That's a 1941, really?
1941, yeah.
Wow.
1941.
There's finally something older than me.
It's amazing that it is because I used to play in California quite a bit and
Wow.
Woke up on the beach with it, I don't know how many times, things like that. It had plenty of opportunity to be stolen, to be messed up, but it never was. It made it through. God was on its side, I guess.
Yeah, well, now you don't want to have it stolen because I'm sure it's got some significant value now, right?
Oh, sure. Pop was in World War II. He was in the UDT and all that out in the Pacific, and he bought it in Hawaii. I guess they went into Pearl Harbor, and he bought it and played the guitar, on the ship and all that.
Wow, very cool. So a musical family as well. So he was a musician, obviously, as well. Was he a recorded musician? Did he play out? Did he record anything?
No, he played, like on Sundays, we would all get together and have dinner, families, friends, or relatives would come over to our house or we'd go to their house. And we'd have Sunday afternoon dinner, or Sunday evening dinner. And then everybody would sit around and play guitar, piano. My mom played piano. And I had a couple uncles played fiddle and one played banjo. And so everybody just sit around in the living room and play and sing. And that's where I picked it up.
Okay. How about the creativity of your own music? How long you been doing that? And obviously that wasn't always an initial thrust. You probably did like everyone does when they learn an instrument. They play cover music and now you're writing your own music, right? So how did that transpire? How'd that happen? Why did it happen?
Well, I tell you, I wrote songs when I was a kid and in my teens and all that. I played with David Frizzell for a while.
Wow. Okay. Know him. Yeah, I don't know him personally, but of course I know of him.
Yeah. Played with him and wrote songs and never really did anything with it. And as I'm sure you're aware, I did 21 years in federal prison for bringing in some contraband from Mexico. And so while I was in there, I wrote a lot of music and decided that what I really wanted to do was music. So when I got out, I started the music business. Just wanted to do I wanted to do something with my life that I always wanted to do.
Well, now could you play? Could you play when you were in jail? Because they let you have. They let you have that axe, but they don't let you have an axe, right?
Right. Well, yeah, I used to fight them for, depends on what warden you had. Some wardens were into music and things like that, and then they change wardens about every 4 years. So, sometimes we get a bad warden. Depends on where I was at, and they didn't like music. They weren't going to let anybody have a guitar, so they'd send your guitar home or take it away from you or whatever. And so I'd have to fight them for it, and I became a paralegal while I was in there also. So,
wow.
Some wardens would let you have it, some wouldn't. You just had to fight them for it and get them back,
Yeah. Now, was it that guitar that was at risk? Because you said it was a risk of being stolen. Obviously, in jail, a good risk to have your guitar stolen, right?
Yeah, or
broken, or right.
I wouldn't never bring this one into prison. I had somebody buy me one outside, a cheaper one, and bring it in. That way, if they took it and trashed it or whatever, then so be it.
Yeah. Okay. So, did you write songs when you were in jail? There, did you write any songs that came to life because of that environment?
All the songs on my new album were written in prison. Every song that I've got right now, and we're getting ready to do another album right now with Red Dirt Records down in Austin, and all those songs were written in prison. They're trying to get me to do some of Ronnie Dunn has a song he wants me to do, and a couple other people that want me to do them. But I don't know. I kind of like my own stuff, because that's who I am, But I don't know. I'll entertain the idea and see what happens. That's all I can
now
do.
you've come at the other end of prison fairly well. I mean, you seem like you're not bitter. You're not. Did it take a while? Were you bitter when you came out? Did it take a while to adjust to being out? Not that we should make the show all about prison. I'm not that curious,
right.
But just out of curiosity.
It was a huge adjustment coming out, but I was not bitter when I came out. I was bitter for the first. I did 21 years, so I was bitter for the first 5, 6, 8 years, something like that. And then I discovered the fact that the longer that I stayed bitter and focused on that, the longer I would detract from my own self. So I got over all that and decided to, instead of focusing on all that past, to focus on the future.
Okay. Like I said, I was going to fuck up the show here. I don't even think I've announced your name. So let's get back to that part. The name of you is?
Steve Griggs.
Okay. And the band's name is, now you perform with, by the way, do you perform with a selective group of musicians, or do you have like studio musicians coming in to fill in the background of musicians you need? How does the band comprise, and what's the name of the band?
The name is Steve Griggs Band.
Okay.
And I use different musicians depending on what I'm doing. If I'm doing some shows in California, sometimes it's just not profitable to carry my guys all the way out there. If I'm in Texas, then I perform with my regular Texas band, But if I'm going to California, depends on what kind of shows it is. If it's big venues, and if it makes sense, financially to carry them out there, then I will. Otherwise, I usually just take my bass player with me because he knows all the songs and he knows how to play them, and he can kind of direct everybody else. If I'm in the studio, usually I use studio musicians.
Okay, God help me, one more joke. You have musicians based upon whoever's broken out of jail or who's ever out of jail at the moment, right?
Right.
All right, sorry about all this bad humor. Like I said, I should be thrown in jail just for doing the radio show. So I'll tell you what, we're going to play a song you're going to play live in your studio there. And
right.
what song are we going to play? Maybe we'll do a couple because I think the quality of the audio is not going to be that bad. So what should we play here? What are you doing?
How about Guilty Dog?
Sounds great. And we heard the dog. How did you quiet the dog down in the basement? He's quiet now.
Well, he's downstairs. I live on a golf course, and when the golf carts come by, he thinks they're in his area, so he gets after them,
Oh, okay. So right now he's out there humping a golf cart. Okay. Well,
right now he's just sitting down there watching for another one to come by.
Oh, there we go. So let's squeeze in the song here while we don't have any dog in the background. Here we go.
All right. Screaming accusations where it always starts. I've always heard it's a guilty dog that barks. Screaming and a cussing, on your finger at me. Trying to misdirection is what I believe, and it's the same old story, the same old song and dance. 'Cause when that dog goes to barking, you ain't got a fighting chance. Something must be going on somewhere else tonight. Oh, there must be something happening tonight. I know you're messing around with me. Something must be fixing in your silver spoon, and it's the same old story, the same old song and dance. 'Cause when that dog goes to barking, you ain't got a fighting chance. Listen to me, brother, if this happens to you, there just ain't a whole lot that you can do. She's the one that's barking, and there ain't no doubt there's a hole in the fence where she's getting out. It's the same old story, the same old song and dance. 'Cause when that dog goes to barking, you ain't got a fighting chance. Well, when that dog goes to barking, you ain't got a fighting chance.
Awesome. All right. All right. I dig it. That was very cool. And the quality was good. Good sound quality from the video. So it sounds good. What are you using to record this with? Do you have an iPhone or what are you using?
iPhone, yeah.
Okay. I was always curious what people dial in with. So especially since this is my first shot at doing the video. So by the way, I'm curious about country music. And you've grown up in a musical family. Mm-hmm. And country music was always something that you really appreciated. Country music has changed a lot over the years. It's because, sure. Do you think it's become more commercialized than it used to be? More commercial, good, bad, and different? What do you think about it?
Well, yes, some of it has become more commercial, sure. There's change all the time, you know, when I hear people say, well, you can't change it, you know. Well, you know, Lefty Frizzell changed from Jimmy Rogers, you know, and Johnny Cash and those guys, they put their own stamp on it, you know, if you will. So it's continually evolving, and I don't do the modern stuff like Luke Bryan and all that stuff because that's just not me. Nothing against it, you know. Those guys are making a lot of money and they're doing their thing, and people like it, so that's all fine. But I think there's a spot for people like me that like the old, if you will, the old style country music, the Johnny Cash type music, Willie Nelson, Waylon Jennings, all those guys, you know. There's a place for it, and there's obviously a lot of people like it. A lot of people come to my shows and buy my CDs and all that stuff. So obviously there's a market for it. There's a spot for it. You know, I hear a lot of people say, I wouldn't listen to that, and I wouldn't listen to this. You know, well, you know, as I said when we started this thing, this interview, you know, I played all kinds of music, and I think a true musician appreciates different kinds of music, whether it be jazz, whether it be blues, whatever. Like, look at Willie; he's recorded with everybody, you know, every genre of music. I think that you can record, and Willie does a great job. And I think there's a place. You know, there's a lot of people out there, so you have different different tastes, just like in clothes or anything else. Some people like hard rock. I still like a lot of the old rock and roll bands. That was real popular when I was the Beatles and all them guys. Darin and the Dominoes and Cream and all them people. So I think music has changed. Country music has changed. It's kind of split off a little bit, but there's still a lot of people that like the old roots music. The Americana and the old style country music. So,
do you think that the audience has increased with the newer genre of country music? Because I'll tell you why I asked that. Because I remember when I was a kid, my dad always listened to country music, like the Wailin' Jennings, and by the way, I went to his place probably about 2 years ago, and I bought this little travel guitar. So when I travel across the country, I can play remotely. It's a lot easier to put it in the carry-on, right? So
that's
I brought
cool,
my
yeah.
guitar, and my dad said, how come you do all this jazz stuff? Do some country music, like Lefty Frizzell, by the way.
Right.
And I picked it up, and I forget, Saginaw County or something like that. Do you know the song? What's the name of it?
Saginaw, Michigan. Uh-huh.
Okay, yeah. So I played that song.
Bone.
Yeah, so he was. I almost brought tears to the guy's eyes by playing a song that he liked from his past memory of country music. So do you think that
Sure.
the audience has grown? Because I remember, like, my dad liked it. There were like a select few people that I knew that loved the old country music. It seems like it's grown now to a larger audience.
Yes, the older country music is really making a comeback, and I've been out of prison almost 3 years, so it couldn't have been any better for my timing, because that's the music I do. So the audiences are growing and going back to, because you had a split. You had the old country music, and then you have all the new guys coming up that have changed it a little bit, put different flavors to it. So, but now I think a lot of people are getting away from that, what they call bro country, and coming back to traditional country music. I think that, yes, I know, because I see the growth in my immediate business, buying CDs from all over the world. It's growing.
Okay, cool. By the way, how do people hook up with you? They go to your website, or how do they hook up with these CDs you're talking about? They want to get more music that's professionally recorded, by the way, and how do they do that?
Just go to SteveGriggsBand.com, and we have the music on there, and the story, and the store, and all that kind of stuff. T-shirts and coffee mugs and all that kind of stuff. CDs.
Where are you playing next? You're in Dallas, by the way. That's where you're centrally located, right?
I'm in Dallas right now. We'll be at San Antonio at Rocky's Tavern on the 27th of this month, which is next weekend, I think. And then we go to, let's see. Then we do a TV show down there in a couple weeks in Austin. We'll do a live TV show. They're doing a special on me down there at Public Access TV. And then we do a couple other shows. I don't remember where they're at. We're going to do Daytona. We just booked Daytona Bike Week down in Florida, so that's going to be a big deal for us.
Yeah.
And then we're going to do Dallas Deep Ellum Arts and Music Festival. We're going to do Texas State Fair. We've got a lot of things coming up.
Yep. Now, obviously, there's a big difference between jazz music and country music. There's a lot more complexity in the chord arrangements of jazz music than there are in country music. Do you kind of miss the intricacy of playing jazz, and do you take time out from your day, like maybe once a week, and say, today's my jazz day. I'm gonna start some of my jazz licks.
Well, I do. I'm kind of Willie Nelson is a fantastic jazz player.
He is. Most people don't know that.
Yeah, if you look at Willie's stuff, it's all based on jazz. His protege was a guy named Django Reinhardt.
Yes.
Oh, great jazz guitar.
Played with like 3 fingers, right? Didn't he have?
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Like that.
Yeah.
But I do a lot of that type of stuff with mine, and I guess I copied Willie, because I didn't know about Django until I got into Willie's stuff. I said, Willie's stuff is really cool. He's off up there doing these jazz chords and everything, and what it is the transition from one chord to the next Willie might play 2 or 3 chords real quick, just quick, go into his next chord.
Hmm.
So, I copied, I still do copy a lot of Willie's stuff. So I bring some jazz playing into my country music, just like Willie does.
Hmm.
And I think it just makes it sound so much cooler. So yeah, and sometimes I get, I get feeling more jazz, so I'll play more jazz, in all the walk downs to
Yeah,
the
yeah.
thing. And yeah, I do that quite often. And sometimes I'll, like Leon Russell's Masquerade, you know, are we really happy with this lonely game we made, or something, whatever it
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
Um, it's a jazz song,
Sure it
but I do it
is.
sometimes. And
Huh.
I tell you what, if I'm up there and I'm singing Lefty Frizzell stuff, and then I throw in Leon Russell's Masquerade, everybody just goes, "Wow, where'd that come from?"
Yeah, of course.
But to me, it's cool because it breaks everything up. You're not just playing just straight old-fashioned country music.
Yeah.
So
How about female musicians in country music? Now it's interesting because when I interview a lot of the rock bands, there's sort of an absence of female rock front vocalists. In country music, it's very different. Is it equally balanced almost, or it seems like it is at least?
well, you have a lot of female country artists that I mean, look at Loretta Lynn and Dolly Parton and all
Hmm.
those people. Patsy Cline. Uh, that were great, but I don't think it's balanced, and I
Hmm.
don't think the girls get enough recognition or as much as the guys. I don't know why, but there are a lot of female country artists, but I just don't think they get the recognition that they should, like the guys do, really.
Oh, how about that? With the exception of Dolly Parton due to the big breast. That it could be one reason, right?
Yeah, yeah. You got Dolly, you got Loretta Lynn. I mean, she done fantastic. Patsy Cline until her unfortunate death there, but Crystal Gale, and you got quite a few. It's probably more balanced than rock and roll,
Okay.
but
Oh,
it's
go ahead.
not quite. Because I know from the business end, the females don't get as much pay as the males.
Wow, and
So
that's a big thing in corporate America now is to balance that out, right? So I'm curious.
yeah,
It's interesting that it's
well,
not that. Is it being pursued with country music to have the female artists equally compensated as well as they are trying to be, or maybe they're closer to being compensated in corporate America?
well, I think it's being pursued by the girls, that's for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, I'm
But
sure.
I think they kind of keep it quiet and
Huh.
in hopes that they'll make it big, so they don't say much.
It's
But
interesting. They're keeping it quiet so that they don't detract from their careers or damage their careers. Yet they should
right,
be more vocal to make it more known, so it's kind of a battle.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Now you're in Dallas. Obviously, country music is pretty big in Dallas. Is that a major genre in Dallas? Everyone thinks it probably is.
Well, there's a lot of country music in Dallas. I would say more in Fort Worth, which is 30 miles to the west.
Uh-huh.
More in Fort Worth. Dallas is a big metropolitan city, so it has different genres here. Jazz, blues is a big genre here in Dallas.
How about that? Okay. And you do blues as well. Didn't you say that? I think you did, right?
Well, oh yeah, I've done blues.
Right.
Uh,
Okay.
you know,
Do you experiment? You mentioned you'll do a Lefty Frizzell song, then you'll do Masquerade. Do you also throw in the diversity of playing a blues song during that same set?
sure, I
Sure,
throw
right?
in blues,
Yeah.
and I countrify it because I'm a country guy,
Uh-huh.
but people who know music will recognize it. Sure, I'm playing a 12-bar blues,
Uh-huh.
and really blues and country are so similar because I'm sure you know that they came from the same time frame and they came from basically the same people. The blues kind of came from the black people, and the country music came from the poor white people. So you got two genres basically that came from very closely intertwined people that were working on the farms or doing that type of thing, and that's where both came from. So they're very very close to the same, and a lot of blues is just 3 chords or 4 chords, same as country.
Sure.
It's the same thing.
I'll tell you what. Let's play another song. You're set up to do another one, right?
Yeah, I'll do another.
Sound all right? Cool. What are we doing now? What's the name of this track?
How about Drinking Texas Off My Mind?
Sounds great to me. Okay, here we go.
All right. Well, I'm drinking Texas off of my mind, and I just crossed that Oklahoma line. Came to Texas on vacation, leaving Texas on probation. Drinking Texas off of my mind. Well, I came down to Texas to see who I knew. I got caught up in a whirlwind. I did some things I shouldn't do. Sheriff busted down my door. I ain't seen that girl no more, and I'm drinking Texas off of my mind. Now I'm headed north on Route 35. Headed back to the one I left behind. And I sure got that Tulsa state of mind. And I'm drinking Texas off of my mind. Well, I'm drinking Texas off my mind. And I just crossed that Oklahoma line. Came to Texas on vacation, leaving Texas on probation. Drinking Texas off of my mind. Yes, I'm drinking Texas off my mind.
Woo!
Yeehaw.
Yeehaw. Remember that show? What was it called? Hee-Haw, right? Remember that show?
Yeehaw.
Yeah, that was a cool show. I like that one for the chicks involved. But that song seemed a lot more fun to play than the first one. Do you have a rush when you play different songs? Are there different frames of mind when you play one song versus another?
Oh, sure. I try to, I get into the mindset of the song.
Mm-hmm.
And especially my own songs is so much easier because I know where the story came from when I wrote the song. So it's easy for me to really get into my own songs, probably easier than, like if I'm doing a cover song, then I have to study it and see where that song came from or where it relates to me to get into it, But my own songs, mostly written on my life experience, so it's easier for me to get involved in them.
Will there become a point where you'll just say all the music I'm doing from now on is just going to be all my own stuff because I'm really in tune to my own music and wide diverse and play cover tunes from somebody else?
I don't think so. I enjoy doing covers. A cover song has to really strike me, I do Gary Stewart stuff quite a bit. And I do some Johnny Cash and Merle Haggard, of course, because I can relate to their music, and I'm so familiar with it that I'm comfortable doing it, and I can get into the part real well,
Okay. How about instruments? Obviously, you're playing this guitar right now. Do you have a selected others? Obviously, you had another guitar when you were in jail, you mentioned, but do you have a collection of guitars, country music guys like that, or are you guys really focused on one instrument because you fall in love with the sound of one instrument?
Well, I play this
like Willie
guitar
Nelson.
because it means
like Willie Nelson,
so,
he's got one, right?
Yeah, I've got this guitar, and I have a 1952 Telecaster.
Oh, okay.
And I play it some, and I have I still have a 1970 Gibson SG that I bought brand new back in my rock and roll days in 1970.
Yeah.
I have a 1959 it's called an Old Craftsman, and it's a hollow body electric, kind of like the 330, the Gibson 335.
Yeah.
It's similar to that, and if I'm playing like Texas swing music or something more jazzy type stuff, it works real well for that. So I use it. I just change around different guitars. I also play the fiddle a little bit, so I get around and fiddle around a little bit, sometimes too.
Good. I'm going to play this piece of the interview from my wife, who says I have too many guitars. I've got like 7 of them too. So each of them has its own different purpose and its own different feel. And it's almost like,
Sure.
yeah, it's almost like when I think of a song I'm going to play, I know what guitar I want to use to play that one piece.
Exactly.
You start to match it up. How about amps for you? Are there a selected group of amplifiers you use when you're playing on stage? Have you matched the guitar with the amp, a song to the amp? How do you match that?
Well, it depends on the venue. A lot of times I'll just run this guitar through a DI box and into the PA. But I would rather use a Fender Acoustasonic amp for this one because it has a built-in pickup, and it's at LL Baggs Harmony, I think they call it, or some Symphony or something like that. It has a pickup here in the bridge, and then it also has a little microphone inside.
Mm-hmm.
So you get this cool sound if you run it through a acoustic amp. Like I like Fender Acoustasonic, it's just I just like it for the sound. If I'm playing the Tele, of course I run it through a Fender, Twin or something like that. Or sometimes I'll run it just through a little vibro champ. I have a little vibro champ. Then I have a 65 Standell that basically I use if I'm playing like slide guitar or something like that on that SG. Mm-hmm. I'll run it through that old 65 Standell, because it's got a cool little tone to it.
Oh, very cool, very cool. I'm curious about this too. When you're performing on stage, well, first of all, how often do you perform? You play once a week, once a month, or how often?
No, about once a week. Sometimes this weekend I'm off. I played last night for a benefit, but usually I play about every week. I'm somewhere every weekend.
Okay. Now, is it important? It's interesting because when I interview bands and they say, if they play too often, they saturate the market and they can't get audience or participation to come out to venues that often. However, to make a life out of music, it seems to me you've got to play. You got to play often. That's the way it is, right? The numbers are the amount of times you play is going to equate to more revenue coming in. So,
sure.
So it's complicated. How do you figure all that mess out?
Well, for me, I move around.
Okay.
If I stayed here and played in Dallas every weekend, yeah, it would become saturated for me here. I'm fortunate to have Fort Worth within 30 miles, so I run over to Fort Worth and play on a weekend, or I run down to San Antonio, or I play in Austin, or out to California. I played some venues down in Mississippi. So I like to travel. Of course, I was stuck in a prison cell for 21 years, so traveling is no problem for me. I'm ready. I want to see the country. It's really nice to be able to go out there and just drive down the highway, So traveling is great for me. So, but I think a guy has to travel. If you don't travel, you're not going to get known, because you go to a venue in California, let's say, and you get people come in and go, wow, this guy's from Texas and he's out here playing music, and never heard of him. They'll get on your Facebook or your website or whatever and maybe buy a CD or whatever,
How do you set that up? You got to obviously do that ahead of time. You can't just drive out there or can you? Can you just drive out there, go to a venue, sit in the venue that evening, find out who the management is and hook it up that way? Or is you got to do it ahead of time? Or it's probably both, right? I'm assuming.
Well, I've done both. Excuse me. I went down to Dale Watson. You may know who he is. He's a big guy in country music here in Texas. But he has a club down in San Antonio. So I went over there and just sat in with the guys one night. I told them I play music and introduced myself and all that, and sit in with them. Well, they booked me for 2 weeks later or something like that.
Uh-huh.
So some of that, and a lot of it though is I have a PR gal down in San Antonio, Elsie Houston, who does most of my booking and social media. She's the slave driver. You know, she stays on me.
Yeah, well, you need that. It seems like bands today, they seem to think they can do it on their own. A lot of rock bands think they can do it on their own, and there's a reason to do it on their own. They can save a few bucks, right? But on the other
Yeah.
hand, you need extra hands to help you out, right?
Oh, you got to have a team.
Yeah.
If you don't have a team, I have through Elsie, she has set up people around the country who share my things on Facebook and interact in my videos, my live things, and they're always making comments on there. And yeah, you have to have a team. If you try to do it all yourself, it'd drive you nuts. Me anyway. I'm just not capable of it. I have too many things going on that I would lose it.
Yeah. How about online music? Is that a good thing? Obviously, I have a lot of bands come on the show, and we talked about saturation of playing just in Dallas all the time. They seem to saturate SoundCloud and Reverb Nation with their whole entourage of music. Every piece of music they've ever done is out on a free source of media. And then when they try to turn around and make a profit on it, they can't because everyone knows that, oh, I'm on SoundCloud, I'm checking you guys out. You're going to charge for it? Screw you guys. I'm just going to go somewhere else and get someone else's free music, and they don't patronize that band that they were digging by downloading a lot of their music. So social media, the online services for music, are they bad for you guys?
They're good and they're bad.
Okay, how are they good and how are they bad?
Well, they're good because they get you out there.
Uh-huh.
They make it available out there. A lot of people think that, oh, I'm just going to put my album on iTunes and that'll take care of it. Well, but nobody knows you're on iTunes. So unless the whole thing is all connected together. You know, it's if you can go on iTunes, you can go on SoundCloud or whatever. If you go on one of the free sites like Reverb Nation, you give them a couple of songs, but you shouldn't give them all of your songs.
Exactly. I've mentioned that. I think so
Yeah,
too.
I put several songs on there, and just because I just got out of prison, I was trying to get out. I was trying to test the water to see how the public would receive me and my music, and me personally, just getting out of prison. So, you know, you shouldn't have no band. I don't think should have all their music up there for free because it's. I mean, how are you going to pay your rent? You have to pay your rent, and like you say, if you're giving it to everybody for free, why should they pay for it? I don't blame them, but I don't make a lot in my digital music, but I make I get a check every month. I'm getting some money, from somewhere. Reverb Nation or SoundCloud. Well, SoundCloud, I think it's all private on SoundCloud. The only thing I use SoundCloud for, I think, right now is sharing, like with some of you get the radio people say, hey, I want to hear your songs. Can you send me your songs? So then you say, well, I have Dropbox. Well, they say I don't use Dropbox. Some do, some don't. Some want to hear it on SoundCloud, so you send it on SoundCloud. But if you put your whole album on there that you just spent $20,000 producing, you put it on SoundCloud and just send it to a radio guy. Well, guess what? It's on there for everybody else too.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, you really have to learn all the intricacies of all the music business.
Yeah, it is tough. It's tough, and it's a challenge for musicians. Do you feel like, since you've known country music from way back as well, were you performing a long time ago, like at a much younger age? Were you out there?
I performed probably my first time publicly at about 15 years old.
Okay, so now the performances from back then till now, do you feel like the audience that's willing to come out and see a musician perform or a band perform, obviously it's changed a lot. Obviously we've had more drunk driving laws now. We can't smoke in the bars anymore. And there's Netflix and there's TV channels, a bunch of that. But truly, I'm curious because I played a long time ago, and I played in a disco band, believe it or not. And we did all cover tunes, right? You got to make a living somehow, right? But when I did it, I saw better times back then than I do now. Now, country music is quite different now because it has a really good audience that really wants to listen to some good country music. Is it performing back then versus performing now with the audience or the possibility of audience? Is it good now? Is it really as good as it used to be? Or is it even better than it used to be potentially?
I think it's about the same,
Hmm.
except for one aspect for the local musician, because my career is kind of taken off right now, so I'm in demand, and I can kind of demand a little bit more money, you
Uh-huh.
know. Uh, but for the local musician, it's worse now, I think, than it was in the '70s,
Hmm.
because in the '70s I was playing solo gigs and making, I'd make $35 guaranteed by the club, but I'd make $100 or 120 maybe in tips back then.
Hmm.
So, and the money went a lot further back then.
Sure.
Now
Hmm.
the club still wants to give you $35 or $50 a night. A lot of musicians are playing for like $50 a night plus tips, and the tips are not as much, I don't think, now as they were back then. So, as a local musician, I don't think it's as good now as it was back then.
But how about the merchandise perspective? Because if you think of merchandise way back, how would you get the music out way back? Cassettes, I guess, right? But
Well,
it was more
that's true.
expensive. I guess it was harder back then to get the digital music, which wasn't digital, out to the audience coming to see you guys, right? Is
Yeah,
that
you didn't make no money in as far as digital or anything like that,
uh,
because back then it cost you $100,000 to do an album,
right?
because you didn't have Pro Tools and all that kind of stuff. So to make an album, you had to go to a pretty big studio most of the time, and it cost you a lot of money to make an album, and then you had the big album to sell.
Yeah.
Um, I never did it. So, or the cassette, whatever. It cost a lot more money back then, unless you wanted to do a real amateur job. But now they have Pro Tools and all that rivals the big studios in sound.
Yeah, sure. So a lot of people that say, a lot of bands I interview, they say the merchandise booth is the primary way that they get paid. So
Exactly.
and it really is, right? From your
Sure.
perspective as well, right?
Sure.
Yeah, yeah. Well, very interesting. What do you do uniquely at a merch booth? Because I always tell the bands to try to be creative, because every band has a merch booth. And if it's the same stuff that you can buy at one merch booth versus the other, then it almost becomes saturated as well, right? So you got to be different in your
Sure.
merch booth, don't you?
Sure.
Okay.
Well, of course, like your T-shirts, I don't put Steve Griggs band on. I put Steve Griggs band on, but I have an image of me on there, so that's a little different, maybe.
Uh-huh.
Uh, but my thing with the merchandise booth is I do a lot of things in my shows. I do giveaways, to just to help and interact with the people. You have to become friendly with the people. If you don't become friends with the people, then you know you're just another musician out there playing some songs. So I try to interact with them quite a bit, and just be me. I think I'm a fairly friendly guy. But what I did is really gets attention in my merchandise booth is I took an old guitar case, and I put some little wooden things in it, and I put my CDs in there. Then I put flashing lights around it. It looks kind of cool. It catches their eye.
Hmm.
You can buy them LED lights real cheap now, and it has a little remote control, so I can make them flashing orange for a while, and
Hmm.
blue or whatever color I want.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's kind of a cool little deal, and it gets a lot of people's attention. They come over there and they want to look, and they'll spend $10 for a CD or a coffee mug or a couple bucks for a koozie or something
Hmm.
like that. So
Yep. Now,
uh,
do you ever worry about, like, for instance, I'm a musician. I play the guitar. For a while, I was playing beach volleyball, and I tore the tendon in my finger here. So I was out of commission for like 8 weeks. You ever do anything to worry about the hands and the voice and to keep everything from not getting damaged? Because it happens. For a while, I thought, man, is my finger actually really going to come back? You never know. Even though the doctor said you're going to have it, don't worry about it. Guys that play the guitar, especially jazz with all the intricacies, we worry about stuff like that. Now I'm more cautious about doing stuff like that. Do you worry about that? Do you protect yourself, or what do you do?
well, of course, I'm always cognizant of it, but I try not. I try to kind of watch my voice and don't. You know, like if you're just setting up. There's one instance. If you're setting up and your sound man doesn't bring your vocal mic up enough, then you have to get into that mic, use more of your voice, and if you do that for 4 hours, your voice is going to be gone.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, it worries me that I would damage my vocal cords. You know, so I just tell my sound man, hey, bring my mic up. I'll get back. I'll use the mic, but give me enough to use when I need it. You know, I got to have it. Things like that. I tell you, I was in a wreck a year ago, and a guy hit me. A guy ran a red light and hit me in my car and knocked me clear around and totaled my car and all this, but it hurt my shoulder. So it really, I can, if I'm playing on the neck, I can come this way real easy. But if I'm going out, it kind of hurts still in my shoulder. So that really affected my playing quite a bit.
Yeah, you worry about that stuff because I used to do a lot of car work I have some classic cars. So now I'm more aware of it. I'm out there playing with the car and I'm worried about shit like that happening, right? It's in the back of my head, right?
Yeah.
So it's funny because when you were in jail, you were worried about your hands, so you didn't try to file through the bars to escape. Right?
No, none of that.
It might damage the hand.
Hey, I tell you what, I did. I wasn't playing music a whole lot before I went to prison, but I had a ranch and had horses and cattle and all that stuff. And I thought, man, I like riding horses. I'm going to break these horses. I had some yearlings coming up, so I got on one time. He seemed like he was, pretty well broke and everything was fine. Well, he threw me off and he threw me into the fence. And it really dawned on me because really messed my arm up. And I thought, man, this is crazy. I'm out here breaking these horses. And, I can hire a cowboy to do it that's not going to play the guitar, not going to, he knows where he's at. But that really dawned on me. I'm messing around out here and could really hurt myself. And I can't play or sing or anything else.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Hard to find that cowboy, though, that didn't play the guitar. That's a hard task to find, isn't it?
Well, there's some out there, yeah. Some of them guys will ride them horses, for like $5 a ride, and they'll come by and ride them every day at your ranch or whatever, So, yeah, that's what you got to do. Yeah. It's better doing it yourself.
Yeah. Do you have any, when you're playing on stage and there's the variety of songs that you play, do you ever get a request for a song that you're just tired of playing? Obviously, a musician has a selection of songs. As the songs become more popular, it's going to be a song that people are going to request to hear all the time. And I've asked this question before, doesn't that get boring? And how do you adjust to that boredom of playing the same song every time you're up on stage because it's the song everyone wants to hear?
Yeah, I tell you, it's like my song "Blinding Lights" is a big hit. "Daddy Like Lefty," Haggard and Jones was a big hit, and "Drinking Texas Off My Mind" was all three of those were pretty big. So for me, and but I really don't get tired of doing them because I like music. So I might be in the mood to play something else, but if I'm up on stage, then I'm going to play what the people want me to play, of course. Yeah, sometimes you get a little tired of playing the same song, but that's the job I chose, so, I have to do it and try to do it with as much enthusiasm as I can,
Mm-hmm. Sure. I'll tell you what, let's close the show out with one more song. Do you mind doing one more live here?
I'll do it.
Okay, yeah. And then what I'll do is when I do the radio show, I'll mix in some of the pre-recorded stuff into the interview. So the thing on radio will sound different than the interview we're doing here for YouTube. Okay?
Fine.
Okay, so here we go. What are we going to play now? What are you doing?
Let's see. Let's do Blinding Lights.
Okay, sounds good to me. Here we go.
Great. Blinding lights shining through the darkness. These blinding lights can't outshine your memory. But now you're gone, and I'm out here on the highway with these blinding lights as far as I can see. Well, you once had a love so sweet and pure, but like they say, all good things must come to an end. Down out here on the highway, guitar in my hand and my thumb out in the wind, with these burning lights shining through the darkness. With these burning lights can't outshine your memory. Now you're gone, and I'm out here on the highway with these burning lights as far as I can see. Well, you took your vow to love me forever. I guess you never intended forever to be that long. 'Cause you left me for another. But just like me, you only do him wrong. With these blinding lights shining through the darkness, with these blinding lights can't outshine your memory. But now you're gone, and I'm out here on the highway with these blinding lights as far as I can see. With these blinding lights as far as I can see.
Awesome, awesome, man. Thanks a lot for being on the show. I appreciate it. Let me turn the volume down here. When you do the music, I got to turn the volume up for some reason. And then when we talk, I got to turn it back down. So we just have completed the interview with Steve Griggs. It's Griggs. Now, if you've got a keyboard that lacks G's, you're in trouble. So anyone that does, borrow someone else's keyboard so you can type in all the G's, right?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. So it's very cool having you on the show. Thanks so much. And again, how do people hook up with you? They go to. Do you have stuff on YouTube, by the way?
Oh yeah, YouTube, Reverb Nation, SteveGriggsBand.com, easy way to find me, and it has a list of our shows, where we're going to be, and dates and all that. There has a store. You can go in there and get our CD, get T-shirts, coffee mugs, or koozies or whatever, and learn all about me right there. My whole story is on there.
Oh, that's interesting too. We got to read about the story. I'm curious. I didn't mention this at all. Tennessee. That's a big place for country music, isn't it? Or is it not? Because I was in Tennessee, and it's less country than you might think.
Yeah, well, Nashville is, they say, the home of country music. A lot of country music down there, sure. There's other genres there, but I'd say the base for most country music that you hear is coming out of Nashville, the studios down there.
Okay. Now, obviously, a lot of rock musicians, they all want to play maybe like Madison Square Garden in New York.
Sure.
Is it your thing that you'd love to play Grand Ole Opry? I'm sure that's probably something that's a dream, right? Is it?
Oh, sure. That I'd love to play the Grand Ole Opry, sure.
Uh-huh.
But Nashville basically is not really the place to play. It's the place to go record or whatever. The music business is there, but most people that live in Nashville, country music musicians, are going out of Nashville to play. They just live in Nashville and do their business there.
Oh, how about it? I didn't know that. Right. Okay, well, it was great having you on the show. I appreciate that. And like I said, this will be on video. Hopefully it all worked. This is the first trial of my video attempt, so we'll see how that works. But if not, don't worry about it, because I got to record it for radio anyway. So hopefully both will work out. If not, at least the radio thing will work out. Okay?
Dave,
Steve, it was great having you on. Make sure you come back on again, and make sure you stay out of trouble. All right.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. All
Will
right.
do.
Okay, cool. Thanks again, man, for being on the show.
Thank you, Dave. All
Okay, take
right,
care.
bye.
Bye bye.